Welcome to another episode of our Walkabout. And today we're going to see and observe one of the most common, heritage, icons in the Kathmandu Valley. And so it is the Chiba, or, in Nepali, it's just referred to as the Chaitya. And so one of the fascinating things, about Kathmandu life is that every morning, you see people, walking around, the Kathmandu Valley through the narrow alleys into the squares, and you see people basically sprinkling rice. You see them offering flowers, to the Chaitya. So these, Chaityas or Chivadeva have become a symbol, not just of art, of iconography, but the word Shraddha. So which literally means that every morning, people go to these, icons to basically show their devotion to the teachings of the Buddha, and secondly, the life of the Buddha. Now, when we look at, the Chaitya, so we can look at it in a vertical, way, and we can also go around it and rotate. So today in this episode, what I want to do is start with the base of the Chaitya, and at the base, it is very profound that we see the nagas and the snakes, that basically go around the Chaitya. Now, what we need to remember is that the Kathmandu Valley, remember, was a lake, and the lake was the home of the nagas. Now, in our, belief system, we believe that snakes are just ordinary animals, but the moment they reach a stage in their own life where they can distinguish right and wrong, then they become the nagas. Now, every prayer in Kathmandu Valley starts with these very simple words where you say, "Snakes, forgive us for occupying your place." And so if you think, the valley was a lake, the lake was the home of the nagas, and we drained the lake in order to start a human settlement. And so it is very important in the Kathmandu Valley iconography that we always give space to the nagas. So in the valley, you will see sites like Taudaha, you see sites like Nagdaha, you see sites like Nagpokri. And so these are water bodies that the people of Kathmandu kept and conserved and protected so that the snakes would not leave the valley. And the reason for that is basically everybody believes that the snakes control the rains. And so the moment or the day when there are no more nagas in the Kathmandu Valley, we will have a drought. So the lower part of the Chaitya is very profound. It is a naga, and it represents nature because it represents rain, and it is rain that gives life to the Kathmandu Valley. So now, if you look at the Chaitya and if we move a little higher, then what we see is the level of the lions, the lion that are roaring, and they're at the four corners of the Chaitya. And so these lions, have been a symbol of, sort of the universal belief that in order to live in society, we have to make our speech impeccable, or our speech, should be without sin. So in management terms, we would say, my word is my bond. So the word that we need to understand is that the lions translate into Simha, and Simhasan is the lion throne. Then basically the person who sits on the lion throne, when they speak, their speech becomes the law. Nobody challenges, what is spoken from the Simhasan. So what we need to understand is in Buddhist iconography, when we utter, when we speak, or when we talk about the words of the Buddha, then they should sound like the roar of the lion, because everybody needs to listen to it and follow it as the law or the dharma. And so this is a very profound icon, because when people go to the Chaitya and worship it, basically they realize that they are in the space, where the Buddha's words are being spoken. So now if you go a little higher, so we see the Padma, or the lotus. And so the Padma as the throne would basically be Padmasan. And so when people are going around the Chaitya, what are they realizing, as they walk around? Basically, the lotus has its roots in the earth, and everything earthly has form. And so the greatest human weakness is that we get attached to things that have form. So then the lotus has to grow past water. Now in Buddhist text, you will see that water is very often referred to as an illusion because you can see through it. And so sometimes our credit rating in the bank, our corner office, or even the notion of wealth are illusions. And so what we need to understand is, if you can train yourself in life to go past your attachments, past your illusions, and if you can blossom in ether, in emptiness, then you have the right to sit on the lotus throne. So this is why in most Buddhist iconography, you will see that the Buddha basically sits on the lotus throne because he has gone through these 3 stages in life. Now, when we put it all together, what we need to realize is that the Chaitya basically represents an icon that helps us to understand the teachings of the Buddha. The teachings of the Buddha have only one purpose, which is basically to help us lead a life without suffering. So the word is dukkha nirodha. And so if you think in Kathmandu Valley, what are the 3 things that are really important for us to understand so that we can be on the path articulated by the Buddha? It would be, we have to take care of nature, because without nature we would suffer. We have to be very careful about the words that we utter, because it is those words that give power, that give meaning. And then how do we move from our attachments, past our illusions, and blossom in ether? So this is why, because these icons basically capture the words of the Buddha and also help us to be on the path of a life without suffering, these Chaityas have had a huge meaning in the life and daily survival, as well as how we prosper in the Kathmandu Valley.